As the video illustrated, the topic today is talking about the IT infrastructure. If enterprises were a building, the IT infrastructure is like the foundation. You can't build a foundation if you don't know what the rest of the building is expected to do. So what I'm going to do is to start with what the IT infrastructure has to accomplish in the future. And from that, derive the attributes, including what are the technologies that are affecting the IT infrastructure, and what software-defined environment, the way we see it, how it relates to what's happening in the rest of the industry. And that's the reason why I have an extra phrase in there, infrastructure. Now, as I do this, I'm also going to be bringing in a growth market perspective. We have had a number of plenary sessions. These are people who are setting IBM strategy at a global level. But I have the unique privilege of having lived in one of the growth market territories, India, for the last 18 months on assignment. And I have also been interacting with many of the growth market customers all over the world, ASEAN, China, and other places. I want to bring in that perspective and illustrate that because it's a very important part of the strategy that we are on. So to get to the agenda, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the new era of computing in a much more fundamental sense, not giving you the statistics, but fundamentally what it means. And what is the IBM strategy for high value and growth, and how that translates into the evolution of the infrastructure, and what does software-defined environment mean. Let me start with the kind of scenario. The First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, is a little bit of a fashionista. And here is the scenario. She loves to work with designers, but she also wears clothes that are done and sold in regular retailers. She works with a favorite retailer, I'm not going to mention any names, wears a cardigan, a sweater, wears it at a public appearance with the Prime Minister of UK in a public event. People know that she's a fashionista and she has a strong following. There is a very strong interest in what she's wearing. People want to buy it. There is social media buzz. And women all over, they drive up demand, which is sensed. Retailers understands to the big data analytics on the basis of social media, prepares, and finds multiple ways to address this. Brick and mortar, online, and others. However, a key part of this is demand exceeds supply. So they have to work with supply chain, shift it, make it more quickly available, capitalize on the demand. And since the demand far exceeds supply, even things that are fairly close to it, perhaps even fakes, they are selling. They understand that. They do that. Is this scenario completely fake? Not really. There is a professor at NYU who has traced the impact that Mrs. Obama's public appearances have caused as a benefit to retailers, multiple retailers. It is to the tune of $1.2 billion during the first term of the president. And not everything that we talk about in the future goes into this. However, it's a very real scenario. So that's the reason, one of the reasons why we say the confluence of multiple technologies are really shifting the IT environment to prepare for a new era of computing. So let me just give a couple of key proof points. Mobile. In the fourth quarter of 2010, for the first time ever, the worldwide shipment of smartphones exceeded the shipment of laptops and personal computers. In China, which has the biggest internet user community in the world, more people are accessing, and there is another thing that is happening, and that is shifting to something other than a programmable system as a means for solving problems. Lauren mentioned Watson. I don't want to mention the game Jeopardy. That's not the point of this. Watson is a system that is capable of ingesting a domain knowledge. And it so happens that it uses natural English language queries, and that is very important, but that's a user interface. Critically important. But what Watson does is it takes a domain knowledge, is able to formulate a hypothesis, test it and validate it, and on the basis of real interaction with the rest of the world. And that's one of the important shifts that is happening. And the last important shift that I want to highlight is of consumer. And these are called the millennials. How many of you were born between 1982 and 2004? Please. You can't be shy on this one. The reason why this is an important question is because the millennials act with, work with, make decisions on the basis of these things. They make decisions in a very different way. When they become employers, when they become employees, when they become customers, when they become patients, when they become citizens, they will not accept answers that are different. They will expect instantaneous response. They will expect being able to provide options on how they will interact with the rest of the world. And that's why people are rethinking their business models around how these can be done. I'm going to give a couple of examples as we go through. Radically, and that is who the client for IT is. The days when the CTOs and the ones. There is a bunch of things in here which I'm going to illustrate with the help of a couple of scenarios. Police chiefs fighting crime data. The city of Davao in Thailand to track and provide emergency response. One of the earlier speakers yesterday already pointed out, the Los Angeles Police Department, New York Police Department, Memphis, they all do this, as well as the Miami-Dade police. Another example, retailers foresee emerging shopping trends. Cheesecake Factory. Ingredients, what cause allergies, what ingredients should not be, growing a variety of grapes that are appealing to customers, provide some differentiated value. So you will be seeing something that's already well known, and that is the real GDP in the major markets, and where there are some very important trends. Mobility, being able to do business on the basis of mobiles. I already mentioned China, and that is a universal growth market. And in the growth markets, there are more mobile phones than landlines. Much of the enterprise value as seen by the IT was through traditional ERP, commerce, supply chain management kinds of workloads. And clients have been making investments in growing them. However, shifting in the enterprise world is extending the enterprise, which means enterprise IT, enterprise apps, to beyond the IT, beyond the enterprise. Consume, whether it be coarse-grained or fine-grained software as a service that others are providing for integrating into the enterprise workflow. That's where the value is. Where mobility, supporting a variety of mobile devices with their challenges, being able to provide the visualization on these mobile devices, That's where the value is. Analytics, while we make a big noise about the big data, a lot of the data is actually enterprise data. Many surveys confirm that. However, it is very critical to connect that to the unstructured data, that the social media data or external data, integrating that. That's what the value is. And leveraging social media capabilities, which Lauren mentioned a little bit and others mentioned a little bit as well. Let me give you a scenario about how this is creating new innovation at the client end and how this connects to what we do. I was at an analyst conference 2 days ago in Singapore, and we had one of our reference customers, Mode, a Kenya-based nano financing. You have heard of microfinancing? This is nano financing. So how does nano financing work? You, as a consumer, has a mobile device. You have a prepaid phone because you can't afford anything better. You're in the middle of a conversation. You're running out of Airtel minutes. Small amount. Think of what this means. Clients love this because they see this as, this company helped me when I needed it, instead of ditching me. It's like the overdraft protection that the banks in the major pennies, but 700 million times. So these are the value-added services that are being done on the basis of mobile, and they do analytics. Is this person worth lending even the nano financing for? That's their analytics. So they illustrate the combination of these kinds of opportunities in a very innovative way. So our strategy is being client-centric, be in the high-value areas, and it requires a different set of capabilities. Many people have seen this, or many people have showed this. They have not tried to go deep into it. What it really comes down to is how do you engage with the customers and the citizens, employees as individuals, millennials. How do you translate information into insights? How do you essentially engage anyone, anytime, anywhere? How do you help the business with agility, speed? How do you provide efficiency? And how do you provide risk and compliance? I won't go into this, but I want to pick on one particular area. The one that we have been doing for the longest is big data, analytics. There are a number of organic, being able to provide clustered environment, being able to scale very rapidly, powerful capability, new technology, organically developed, and being born as a middleware. IBM also acquired Netezza, another very powerful innovation technology. These are being integrated into the overall IBM stack. Example, the Netezza technology is made available for the mainframe data. Data on the mainframe through transaction analysis can be done very effectively by offloading the query onto an under-the-cover Netezza, the IDAA platform. When IBM acquires capabilities from external innovation added to organic innovation results in a powerful set of recipes based on these ingredients. You can walk through every one of these things and say, that's what we're doing, but I'm not going to. The IT budget to keep legacy existing applications going forward as opposed to creating new value to the business. 1 in 4, close to 1 in 4 IT projects are both over schedule and over budget. So there are significant problems in IT today. So what we say when we say smarter computing, which is a slightly different version of the definition than Dieter used. Dieter was using smarter computing to mean, how do you take a smarter planet and build it? Underneath that, IBM is a company that spends $6 billion annually in R&D. A few $100 million is spent on pure research, which produces things like Watson. Over the next 2 years, we'll be spending $20 billion to get traditional companies as we launch towards the higher level. So in this kind of space, the portfolio, like Watson is optimized on a power platform, being able to build analytics, all the high-performing applications of the solution, and come down to what the parts that are needed are in order to build it. And a key part of that is capturing best practices, and that is through patterns, and that's pure systems. And storage plays a fundamentally important role. As you have heard said many times, storage efficiency matters. The reason why storage efficiency matters is the world is creating half of the entire information on places, and these are all where innovation is happening. We'll talk a little bit more about that, not a whole lot. Solution, cognitive computing, equally important. Things for cancer can be developed in a matter of years, 3 years to the goal, rather than a much longer period that is there today. And there is an opportunity to improve patient care. And being able to transfer that knowledge to others other than just MDs and cancer involved. I'm a millennial. I want to retire 60 years from now, and I want to have XYZ properties. What do I do? Right. And there are opportunities for others. So where are we in this infrastructure of today? And how do systems matter? Design for big data. I picked a few important things to mention there. The attribute that's important is access to data with low latency and very high performance, and being able to manage very large amounts of information. I already mentioned the fact that the reason is storage devices are not able to scale in I/O operations performance in the traditional hard drives. Solid-state disks built on flash technology, given that they're going to have the right enterprise-worthy capabilities, they can provide 2 orders of magnitude more I/O operations performance, and that can have a huge value. An example of a huge value, by being able to integrate flash into a mainframe system, if you are a day trader, and I'm not talking about as a consumer, getting ready for the day trading as an enterprise, you have to bring in enormous number of pages, the relevant data to provide simple access to transactional information. That is I/O operations performance bound. The mainframe is able to do that so that an enterprise that does this can get ready much, much, much faster than before. And that is due to the integration of the technology to go into the right place. However, flash also is expensive. It creates an additional level of the hierarchy. And therefore, automated way, based on whether it's cold data, hot data, or lukewarm data, where should it sit, so that you can optimize the access characteristics, the performance characteristics with the cost characteristics, because IT still has to be efficient. That's what easy tier and easy optimize do. In the software-defined space, let me give you one of the innovations that I saw a couple of weeks ago that's grown in India. ESDS, a cloud services provider. Everybody has heard of pay-per-use. They have invented, just like Mode invented nano financing, ESDS has invented pay-per-consume, which is more efficient. If you have a primary and a disaster, secondary for disaster recovery, many people today pay cost on the secondary side, regardless of whether there is a disaster or not. So on the basis of their cloud services, they have invented a model whereby you pay for their services only when there is a disaster and you are using the secondary side. And they have a number of innovation technologies, auto-scaling. Cloud today does not auto-scale. It does not automatically adjust resources in order to scale. And they have invented it. They have the capability. And by the way, they said, in order to do this, we needed something that was more top-down driven. And they heard about the PureFlex and they wanted the PureFlex system. They bought it. That's what that story was 2 days ago in Singapore. We have also acquired a company called Platform Computing. If you want to do top-down from a business solutions down to what the infrastructure that is needed, and it is virtualized and managed. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the software-defined environment. What is fundamentally critical is the ability to say, in this virtualized infrastructure, based on performance needs and the characteristics, this is where it should go. Platform computing has and smart cloud infrastructure along with PureFlex to provide their services. And the credit union system in Brazil, right, they are built on a mainframe. On the basis of the mainframe, they are able to scale enormous capacity, transaction volumes, and still stay within their budget. Actually, they save $1.5 million off annually by being able to do the consolidation on a combination of Linux and the mainframe. Very briefly, to go into the big data kind of environment, one has to have the big data infrastructure because Hadoop is a cluster system. And you need to have an efficient way of dealing with the cluster and its management. It requires parallel processing, and it requires high bandwidth and low latency characteristics for a data access perspective. And on top of that, one needs to be able to build the platform, which is a combination of the Hadoop, including the Hadoop file system, stream computing, and the traditional data warehouse. But more importantly, what makes the system is the fact that it is managed as a single entity from a systems management point of view, as well as the interoperation of the data perspective. And as I mentioned earlier, a powerful technology that we grew in-house, DB2Blue, and a great technology that required outside, the teaser. Now it is inside. And the confluence of that will determine where the big data platform optimization in the future is going to go. Now let's talk a little bit very briefly about the software-defined environment and why we need a different thing than. If you miss service level agreement that has been defined from a business perspective, you know where you missed it and what changes need to be made. That's what the software-defined environment is. Let's contrast this with how today's world is. Busy chart. Hopefully I'm going to run a couple more minutes that they're going to give me. In the traditional world of the servers, it is hardware-centric, it is bottoms-up. Server, storage, and networks are silos. It is homogeneous compute silos. Everything is an island. And you manage a very large number of individual systems, and the virtual resources, while there is a virtualization, it is treated as like hardware. And it is managed with an extensive manual process. What a software-defined view of this is using virtualization to manage IT, not virtualization to get efficiency, virtualization to manage IT. It is work cloud aware, it's top-down. And integrated, like I said, server, storage, and networks together. And being able to do heterogeneous compute and federation, managing pools of resources as if they were a single system. And it is done by advanced automation, CSI, automation. The third piece was automation, I remember. And therefore, it's a different way of doing it. Oh, by the way, before I go there, is this a new concept? No. The mainframe has done this. The world's best service level agreement based production workload management. It exists, but works only with the mainframe stack. No longer acceptable. Have we done others in the past? Yes. Just like we improved Linux and made it enterprise worthy in IBM, what we have done is we have picked OpenStack and we are contributing significantly to make OpenStack extendable, our capabilities and servers and technologies, and contributing to it to make it enterprise worthy. And the governing board along with Red Hat, and we are doing exactly what we did with Linux so that the world has a choice. And the last, we strongly believe in working with customers. We are also taking open our power capability so that combination of Google, NVIDIA, Mellanox, and Tyan, we can cut this strategy, including the ecosystem part, will not succeed if we do everything. And that's where business partners like you, perspective, whatever the labs need, we will provide. I'm making a similar commitment for our systems technology lab. There is a lab services team. Naveen Kamath is here from that team. And please leverage both the lab as well as the lab services.